No way. That's crazy. Oh, I didn't see you there. Just doing a little reading. Well, welcome to Old Legacy. We talk about sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, you name it. We just talk about it. Fans from all different sports. So, why don't you just come join the discussion and maybe comment what your opinions, your thoughts on the game, because you're what matters. You are the bridge between the team and the city. So, let's get into the video. All right, hope everyone is having a great Super Bowl week. Today we have three of our team representatives on the gridiron side here to discuss the Super Bowl. You remember Phil and Liam from the first video, and this time we also have Jason, our Buffalo Bills, Texas A&M University, and Houston Gamblers representative. Some quick news before we start. The Chiefs have nobody on their injury report for the Super Bowl, and the Eagles only have punt returner Britton Covey on the injury report. He has a hamstring injury. So that's the only news in terms of injuries heading into the Super Bowl. So we're going to go ahead and discuss. We're going to start off and discuss the Eagles' pass offense versus the Chiefs' pass defense. Phil, do you want to start us off? And how do you feel about the Eagles' pass offense versus the Chiefs' pass defense? How do you think that matchup is going to be?
So I know that, all season long, the narrative for the Eagles has been if you have to make Jalen Hurts play quarterback, you're going to have a good day, right? At least that's what Robbie Gould said, probably after the 49ers lost, and he was poopy about it. But I guess it's I know that Hurts isn't, 100%. So I think a lot of it's going to come down to how he is doing physically. Like, I know that extra week off probably helped him, but the Chiefs have a really good, they have a stellar defensive line that can get after it, and they got the corners that can match up with just about anybody. So it's going to be close. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how Jalen Hurts feels. If he is doing better than he was last week, not last week, 2 weeks ago when they played, then I think it'll be good. But I think the Chiefs' pass defense is gonna be able to hold the Eagles' pass offense in check.
Liam, how about you?
Really, it's all going to depend on how our three rookies in the secondary play. They played decently against the Bengals, but now having to try and cover Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, I just don't know if the stage of the Super Bowl is going to be too much for those three rookies. Getting L'Jarius Sneed back for clearing concussion protocol will help. It's just the one question mark I have is those rookies in the secondary.
Jason, what do you think about this?
Well, from experience watching Allen go up against the Chiefs earlier, it always seems like if you can get outside the pocket, then you got a chance against that defense. And obviously that's what Jalen Hurts is going to bring to the table. So I think that if they can contain Hurts in the pocket, which they very well may, because like Phil said, he's still kind of got that lingering issue. But if they can keep him inside the pocket, then I think the Chiefs will have a pretty good day.
I'm actually not worried against playing the Chiefs secondary of all secondaries. I mean, with AJ Brown, I don't know who's going to be on AJ Brown, whether it's Sneed. I assume Sneed should be playing on Devonta Smith. Liam, do you think that would be a better matchup for him?
Most likely put Sneed on Smith.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, you have put Sneed on Smith. That's my assumption. I don't know who you play on AJ Brown then. That's a tough one-on-one matchup to play against. It's very hard one-on-one. I feel like the Eagles are going to beat the Chiefs every single time, and if it's man. That's why I recommend if the Chiefs want to be able to slow down the Eagles' pass offense, play zone. I think that's just the smart decision. You're not going to allow a big play from AJ Brown or Devontae Smith. Yeah, they're going to be able. The Eagles' offense is going to be able to dink and dunk passes every now and then, but biggest recommendation, just play zone. Otherwise, I mean, Devontae Smith, L'Jarius Sneed, that might be a good matchup. I know Devontae Smith is an amazing route runner. AJ Brown is probably the most physically dominant receiver in the league right now. I mean, I'm not saying he's the best receiver in the league. He's not. We just saw the best receiver win Offense Player of the Year last night. But in terms of like pure strength from a receiver position, I don't know many receivers that can match up one-on-one with AJ Brown. And I don't know many corners that can match up one-on-one with AJ Brown physically. So good luck to that. When it comes to Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, I do think the Chiefs probably are going to have the upper hand. Zach Pascal has kind of been irrelevant all year long. And Quez Watkins has really been underperforming. Most people thought he would be the deep threat for the Eagles offense. He's been dropping passes, fumbling those passes away. So we've kind of been shutting him out of the entire offense as a whole. So that's why you see more 2 tight end sets from the Eagles offense more recently. When it comes to Goddard, though, I don't know who. Liam, do you know who would probably be shadowing Goddard for the game?
Not really. It kind of depends, like coverage, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like depending, maybe bring a safety over the top of him or move one of our outside linebackers over.
Yeah, I mean, and Chiefs, that's probably a strong point in the Chiefs defense. When you have Willie Gay at linebacker, Justin Reid at safety. I mean, I guess I guess that'll probably be a really good matchup for the Super Bowl. Otherwise, I don't know how the Chiefs secondary could really slow down one-on-one with the Eagles defense. You can hope to contain them. That's the best way I can put it. All right, let's move on to the next one. Eagles run offense versus the Chiefs run defense. Jason, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think it kind of plays off a little bit of the pass offense when it comes to the Eagles, because obviously with Hurts you got that RPO threat. I think, I mean, I know the question was, run defense, run offense, but I think the only way if you're going to beat the Chiefs is you're going to have to throw the ball on them. I feel like just that's me speaking from experience watching, us play them. Granted, our run game is not very good. That's my take on it, is that if you're going to beat them, you're going to probably have to do it through the air.
Liam, what do you think?
I kind of agree with that. The Chiefs defense in general has really stepped up the past few weeks, including the playoffs. And then even like our run defense, that was a big issue last year, and then coming into this year has really picked it up. So if we can continue doing that and have Nick Bolton and all of our other linebackers, corners make those open field tackles that they've been doing, it's going to help a lot.
Phil, how about you about the Eagles run offense, Chiefs run defense?
All right, so obviously I don't know a whole lot about either of the teams, but I do know enough. I think a lot of the Eagles run offense is going to also come down to Jalen Hurts and how much the Eagles want to actually use that RPO to, or all the option plays. Because I know that you guys run option plays and everything like that. So I know a lot of it's going to come down to, all right, how much do we want to risk running Hurts when we need him as quarterback? But the Eagles' offensive line they're no slouch. They're a good offensive line. I know when you guys played us, the offensive line was, you guys stopped our defense, no problem, and able to run in down the field. But that was more of our offense walking off than everything. But I think a lot of it's going to be, do they want to do the option plays, get that RPO going, or are they going to want to just hand it off to Scott or Sanders and let them try? But the Chiefs' run defense is really good too, so I think a lot of it's going to come down to Jalen Hurts and how much they want to actually run with him, as opposed to just keep him in the pocket to throw with him.
Yeah, I mean, Eagles have number one run defense or run offense in rushing touchdowns. Chiefs have a top 5 in rushing touchdowns. But I will say, throughout the year, when the Eagles have played a team who had supposedly had the number one run defense, they ran all over them. Jaguars at one point at the beginning of the year had the number one run defense. I don't know how many yards they ran for, but I know they ran. That was one of the more successful running games of the year for the Eagles. Niners had the number one run defense, I was told, or number one defense in general, I was told, and they put up 31 points. Yeah, they put 31 points against the number one defense of the league. Forget about whoever was playing quarterback for the Niners. The defense did not hold up. I think the best thing for the Eagles offense for this game is to just avoid running to Chris Jones. Avoid running towards him. Good. I feel comfortable with where the matchups lie. I mean, Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, neither of them are allowed a sack or QB hit all year. I think I'm pretty sure there's like 5 or 6 players in the entire league who haven't done that, and 2 of them are on the Eagles offensive line. That's insane. And never, that's talking about them from a passing perspective. From a running perspective, I feel like the entire offensive line is even better than they are in pass protection. So I don't know. I haven't seen anyone be able to slow down that offense yet. I've seen defense, the number one defenses, number 2. I've seen a lot of top 10 defenses play us, and they just have not slowed down that run game. So, yeah, if the Chiefs are going to win, you slow down that run offense, and that's best thing you can hope for. I do agree with you, Phil. In terms of the option game, and that makes most sense. Jalen Hurts is very smart. I think people underrate how smart he is in the option game, never mind passing. In terms of the option game, being able to look at the linebacker and whether he should give it back to give it to Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, whoever's back there, or just keep it himself. And even there's the RPO. I was just talking to someone about an hour ago, saying how scary it was looking at the 27 and how awesome that RPO offense was, and how much that has advanced to now. Now it's more of we've combined the RPO offense with the read option offense. So it's like you're merging 2 very intellectually sound offensive schemes together. All right. Speaking of offensive line, Eagles offensive line versus the Chiefs defensive line. How do we think that's going to hold up, Liam?
Like you said, the Eagles offensive line is one of, if not just plain out the best in the league right now. And the Chiefs D line isn't really any slouch. So if Chris Jones or Karlaftis, even Clark can get at least somewhat enough pressure on Hurts to make him maybe rush a couple passes, I feel like our defense will be able to slow that down, the passing game. And then we have to figure out how to stop the run, like you said.
Jason, I didn't realize this until we were like maybe like 5 minutes into the video. I hope both teams lose.
That's my saltiness, man. That's all it is.
I did notice that after I had given after he started talking about the Eagles pass offense and Chiefs pass defense, I lost it. I started laughing.
I was wondering why you were laughing, and I was like, why is he laughing? And then I looked, I was like, oh, that makes sense. What are your thoughts on the Eagles offensive line, Chiefs defensive line?
I think either way you break down the lines, yes, the Eagles have a fantastic offensive line, like you said. But these are the top 2 scoring offenses in the league. So the defensive line has really got to step up for both teams if, one team's going to outdo the other when it comes to scoring. when I look at both of them, I really can't say which one's better than the other. If I'm, looking at Chiefs offensive line, Eagles defensive line, or vice versa. I mean, they're very, very similar in skill set. I really think this is just going to be one of them Super Bowls where it's going to be which guy is going to make the play at the right time. And, this is not going to be a Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl from a few years ago. This is going to be right down to the wire. And, they're very even is my take on it.
Phil, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously the two best teams in the NFL right now. I mean, they're both in the Super Bowl. So the Eagles' offensive line, like you said, they're stellar offensive line. They got two linemen that haven't given up a sack all season. That's not very much you hear of that, especially with how defenses are and everything. And the Chiefs' D line is they get after it. And they got, I don't know, it's going to be close. It's going to be one in the trenches, but I think that the Chiefs are going to have to do a lot of sneaky, out of the box blitzes to be able to slow down the Eagles' offense, because I don't think the offensive line is just going to. I think the offensive line, and it's going to be too close to call, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs defensive line, I think the X factor, it's weird. This is going to be a hot take, but for this game in particular, I don't think Chris Jones is technically the X factor. He may be the most dominant presence and the one that the Eagles offensive line should be looking at the most. But for me, the X factor is Frank Clark coming off the edge. I mean, he's got that speed to be able to go after Jalen Hurts, and that's something that's how you beat Jalen Hurts. You need to have a dominant edge threat. I'm not saying don't worry about Chris Jones. Definitely worry about Chris Jones. Same thing with George Karlaftis. I know he's been very good. I know a lot of people had high expectations when Chiefs drafted him. They thought I didn't hear a single negative review from anyone. A lot of people loved the pick, and you know what? He's been pretty solid. But definitely Frank Clark is the X factor. I mean, that's really all I can say. If you have Frank Clark coming against Jordan Mailata, that might be an issue, because Mailata's not the most is not the most agile person in the world, and I think that's the weakness of the offensive line. But if he has a big day, if Jordan Mailata shows up, I do think the Eagles' offensive line has already won their own little mini game within the game itself. Because I mean, I know Lane's going to hold his own. Lane has just played. He's played 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates over this season. One he played twice, and neither of them did anything. So I expect Lane Johnson to hold his own regardless of injury. I know he's had the groin injury, and I know Jason Kelce's going to hold his own. But yeah, if you're the Chiefs defensive line, just look to attack Jordan Mailata. That's the biggest thing I'm looking at. All right, now we're going to flip sides. We're going to look at the Chiefs pass offense led by Patrick Mahomes versus the Eagles pass defense. Now, Jason, what do you think about this matchup?
Well, speaking from experience, just because we get blessed with the opportunity to play the Chiefs every single year, the only way to slow down Pat Mahomes is to get pressure on him. That at least, speaking from experience with us, even if you look back at our game against the Chiefs earlier this year, towards the end of the game, we had Von Miller show up, get pressure, Mahomes threw that game-ending interception. If the Eagles, I know this isn't part of the question, but if the Eagles D-line can create pressure, then the secondary, I think, should be able to hold its own. Obviously, not having Tyreek Hill hasn't slowed down the Chiefs at all this year. I It's Pat Mahomes. he's gonna do something, and then thank goodness Tony Romo or Collinsworth is not calling this game, so we don't have to listen to that call. But yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna do something that we're all gonna say wow to. So
Yeah, Greg Olson, please don't be
Yes.
like Romo or Collinsworth. Won't be boring either. It's the Super Bowl. Live a little. Phil, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Eagles pass defense is you guys have the corners that can shut down and almost everybody. You guys shut down Justin Jefferson like he wasn't even out on the field, which he happened a couple times, but whatever. I mean, as long as the Eagles pass rush can get after, like Jason said, like they can get after Mahomes, and as long as his security blanket is covered. So as long as somebody's on Travis Kelce, then then I think that that's going to be the way that the Eagles pass defense does well is they have somebody on Travis Kelce and they're able to get after Mahomes.
Liam, what do you think about this matchup?
Like Jason said, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like losing Tyreek Hill was, and people were saying, "Oh, they're not even gonna make the playoffs." And here we are. He's in the Super Bowl, just won his second MVP, and he's gonna make spectacular plays somehow in that game. But if the Eagles get pressure, that will definitely be a problem. But we do have two running backs that can also catch out of the backfield. So if you cover Kelce, which is his main security blanket, he could always dump it off to McKinnon or Pacheco, who are both, once they get the ball, are tough to bring down.
Yeah, I mean, Kelce is definitely the best weapon they have on offense that isn't named Patrick Mahomes. Eagles defense is statistically top 5 in the league against tight ends. I'm really not worried about any of the receivers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has a lot of potential. I think anyone who's ever seen him sees how big he is and just knows that like he's got so much potential. And I mean, him against the Bengals, that was the X factor. Ultimately, was him. But I'm not too worried about him doing that again. I hope Bradbury's sort of shading him. Maybe and then have Slay on Juju, even Avonte Maddox on Kadarius Toney. That would be a great matchup. You are right, Liam. Throwing to the running backs. That's how you beat the Eagles is little dump passes here and there. You throw to your running backs because we play such a soft zone that someone like Tom Brady, like I always take this example when like talking about how you do beat the Eagles defense, but someone like Tom Brady when he was on the Patriots and he was doing the dump passes here and there, or like he did against the Falcons in the Super Bowl. That's how you beat the Eagles offense. The Eagles offense plays so much cushion that Mahomes is not going to be able to throw the ball deep. He's just not. If he does, it's probably going to be an interception. That's where Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has thrived all year long, is because the Eagles pass rush is getting to the quarterback. It's forcing quarterbacks to either to make a quick decision. They might see someone's open downfield and they throw it and then intercepted by Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's why he's led the league in interceptions despite missing so many games. I mean, if anyone will beat the defense, it's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not actually too worried about Travis Kelce. Even in the Chiefs' worst games, he's gone off. So he's had. I was looking at like I was trying to see if there was correlation between their losses and Travis Kelce's performance. And honestly, there's not much correlation. There's correlation with like when Mahomes has a lot of turnovers, they tend to have a higher chance of losing the game. But Travis Kelce could go off for like 3 touchdowns and 150 yards, and they could still lose the game. So not too worried. I mean, I know Kelce is going to be Travis Kelce. He's been doing that for so many years. But I do agree with you, Jason, about getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, the Eagles are 4 sacks away from tying the NFL record for the most sacks in a single season by any team ever. Which I hope they break it. That'd be awesome. In the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes, that'd be great. But if they can get 4 sacks, I think that's a game changer, especially in this game. All right, let's talk about the defense versus the Eagles' run defense. Liam, what do you think about this matchup?
Pacheco and McKinnon need to have a great game, and the Chiefs need to call more runs because, like during the Bengals game, they started to try to run the ball, and it would have a couple bad plays here and there, and then would completely abandon it. If we can just consistently get some good run blocking and give Pacheco even the smallest of hole, he's not a giant guy. Same with McKinnon. They can either go through you, around you, or even under you with their size.
Phil, how do you feel about this?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know we had Jerick McKinnon back when he was a rookie, younger player, and he's that X factor that you don't think about because he can kind of do it all. He's got the quicks. He's quick. He can cut. He can do it all, and he needs to be able to do that. I just don't know if him or Pacheco are going to be able to do that against the Eagles' run defense. They got the big mollies up front, and they just signed Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph to add even more beef to it. So to be able to move those two out of the way, along with Fletcher, I mean, you guys still have Fletcher Cox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to move those 3 out is not going to be an easy task if they're all on the field at the same time. I don't see the Chiefs' run game being able to do enough to take the focus off the pass. Like, I don't think the Eagles are going to have to worry about the Chiefs' run game.
Jason, what do you think?
I think I don't know if it's necessarily the run game itself, but kind of like what Liam was hinting at earlier, the usage of the running backs. Mahomes loves, especially this season, it seems like them just the little check down, give me 5-yard type plays, which is perfect. They do have 2 great running backs that can go. It's just, Philly's line is going to be tough to run on. I think the run game, if they can use the running backs in the passing game, if that makes sense, that's how they're going to be used in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something that I've been frustrated with the Eagles defense all year, aside from how much space we give receivers and tight ends and stuff in the secondary, when we don't utilize our 5-man front. So whenever we use a 5-man front, we have Jordan Davis is usually our nose tackle, and then we'll have Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargraves in at defensive tackle right on each side of Jordan Davis, and then our edge is usually a combo, depends on what down it is. Sometimes it's Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick on possibly 3rd down, and sometimes on short yardage plays we might have Brandon Graham out there. We mostly have Hassan Reddick out there a lot. So he's probably still out there. So, I mean, I'm frustrated when we have 4-man fronts because that's when teams usually pick us apart, start running the ball as hard as they can against us. That's ultimately how we lost the Washington game. We didn't have Jordan Davis, so we had to go through a 4-man front. We didn't have Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh at the time. And it was the week before we signed them. So we were playing this defense that was not very good. And I really hope that we just stick with the 5-man front. We could play that all game long. Play at a 5-man front all game long. Since we added Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, it's been a rotation. Brandon Graham will either play that defensive tackle position or defensive end. Depends on or edge rusher position, I guess. He'll play edge rusher or in between the nose tackle and the edge rusher. And Ndamukong Suh plays that position sometimes too. He'll either play nose tackle or, I mean, I've seen Ndamukong Suh play quite a bit over the playoffs. Linval Joseph, same thing. We've utilized everybody on that defensive line. It's to a point that here's the depth chart for defensive tackles. So Hargrave and Cox rotate are basically defensive tackle 1A and 1B. And both of them are great. Hargrave has been phenomenal. He's been better than I even thought. Jordan Davis is our third defensive tackle. Our fourth defensive tackle is either Milton Williams, Linval Joseph, or Ndamukong Suh. So we have 6 defensive tackles we basically could use at any point in the game. There's constantly fresh legs coming in to either stop the run or just get to the quarterback. And then on top of it, the edge threats like Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Hassan Riddick. I wish Derek Barnett was still here, but he tore his Achilles, so that would have been crazier if he was still here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Chiefs could run the ball a lot against us unless it's like I said, a 4-man front. But I do agree with what Jason and Liam were pointing out in terms of utilizing the running backs outside of just running the ball, utilizing them in the short yardage passing game, little 5-yard passes. All right, let's move on to Chiefs offensive line versus the Eagles defensive line. I know we're basically just touching on that, but Jason, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to stick with my same answer. They're even. Both sides of the ball, they match up very well with each other. Kind of like what I hinted at a couple minutes ago. If the Eagles defensive line can just create a little bit of pressure, get Mahomes uncomfortable, that's going to be the recipe to Philly winning the game ultimately. But as far as how one goes against the other, they're point flip them. I mean, they're very, very similar on both sides of the ball.
Liam, what do you think?
I mean, really the same thing. With Mahomes, I know he's had quite a few weeks, but still a sprained ankle doesn't heal immediately. So getting pressure on him with their defensive line through our offensive line, the mobility isn't going to be there as much as it has been. Like Mahomes ran I think he had 1 rush for 6 yards against Cincinnati. So our offensive line needs to really step up and at least slow down and get in the way. And the one concern I do have, though, is Andrew Wiley. He's been so hit or miss all year, and that's the one person on that line that I'm really not happy about being in this position.
Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they both pretty much already nailed it on the head. It's going to be close, and it's going to go back and forth. The defensive line is going to win a few. The offensive line is going to win a few. It's just they're very evenly matched. Like both teams on all fronts. Like the Chiefs offense and the Philly defense. I'm hoping that it's a really good game. I'm also hoping that if it's a blowout, they put Travis Kelce in at defensive tackle just so he has to go up against Jason Kelce, because I think that would be fantastic to see in the Super Bowl. So you'll probably never see that anywhere else. But I do think that it's going to come down to a couple plays, and it's going to depend on which team wants it more.
Yeah, I mean, Hassan Riddick is going to be on Andrew Wiley all day long. Good luck. Like I was saying, put Travis Kelce next to Wiley to sort of chip block or help in general, just help block Hassan Riddick. I don't recommend at all to keep Kelce blocking the entire game because the game is already lost. The game is over if Travis Kelce has to block the entire game. So sort of like chip block Riddick, I guess. It's gonna be And on the other side, when you have Josh Sweat going to go against Orlando Brown, I want to ask you this, Liam, because a lot of Chiefs fans that I've seen in like Chiefs groups have been talking about Orlando Brown has been very underwhelming, and they're sort of afraid for this matchup in the game. What do you think?
I mean, I can see that. Like, Orlando Brown wanted so much money in the offseason, so we ended up just franchise tagging him. But this year, which was kind of like a prove it year, he's not been the player that he was hyped up to be.
Do you guys think you re-sign him?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Orlando Brown has just been like, average. I think he's better in a run offense, and I think that's why he was so good in Baltimore, because they were so run happy, and the Chiefs are the sort of the complete opposite. I mean, they do run the ball. I'm not saying they don't run the ball, but they're not as heavy as runners as Baltimore is. And they're so it goes to show that some people are much better at pass blocking than they are run blocking, and vice versa. Um, then interiorly, I do think Creed Humphrey is going to have a field day on Jordan Davis. Although Jordan Davis, I don't know. Jordan Davis is a freak athlete, and he can do a lot of things that most people half his weight and half his height can't even like dream of doing, and he's insane. I think that's gonna be a great matchup. But I do think Creed Humphrey's probably going to end up beating him there. And then when it comes to interior defensive line, you got Cox and Hargrave playing against the guards. I mean, Chiefs guards are very good, very good. So this is gonna be, I think, the best matchup all day long. I know most people are gonna talk about Hurts and Mahomes, and other people might talk about Kelce and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But I think the Chiefs offensive line versus the Eagles defensive line is going to be what could decide the game. All right, let's move to special teams. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but you know what? Special teams sometimes decides games. I mean, it's decided Super Bowls. You have Ray Guy had a one-handed catch in the Super Bowl that if he doesn't make that punt, who knows what happens in that game. So special teams does matter at times. Liam, what do you think about the special teams for both teams?
I mean, starting with the Chiefs, like kickoff coverage, it in the postseason against the Jags and Bengals, it's been bad. They weren't staying in their lanes. They gave up, I think, 2 45-plus yard returns to the Jags and then maybe one against the Bengals. So our kickoff coverage needs to be better. And then just turnovers. We had a lot of muff punts this year, most of them by Sky Moore. But then he was called on and had to step up against the Bengals, and he did. And then with Butker, he had an up and down year. There was times where he couldn't make a field goal, and then again, come clutch time, he hits a field goal to send us to the Super Bowl. So I feel like in clutch moments, the Chiefs special teams could potentially come up big and swing that game.
Phil, what do you think about each team's special teams?
I think it's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going to come down to how well each team can do on the kick coverage. And like Liam said, Kansas City during the playoffs they've been getting up some long returns. You can't do that and give your defense a short field to try to defend against anybody, but especially Philadelphia. If they do that, it's not gonna help. This game could come down to a missed kick or a made kick. Luckily, it's indoors, so you guys won't have to worry about the wind or rain or anything. The elements of outside that could potentially mess with the ball when it's being punted or kicked or anything like that. You just have to worry about the kickers not getting in their own head and doing what they need to do. So I think if the Chiefs kick off team can fix themselves over the last couple weeks, then it'll be good for them.
Jason, how about your thoughts?
Well, it seems like both y'all are picking on the Chiefs special teams, but from my little bit of research, it doesn't look like Philadelphia is bragging about their special teams unit either. So, I mean, does anybody got McAfee on speed now? We could get his thoughts. So, I mean, the special teams, Super Bowls, like you said, that's kind of where, especially close games like we're thinking this is going to be, are decided. So, both kickers aren't, I mean, they're good. They're in the Super Bowl. I don't think either team has the advantage if that's what we're trying to boil it down to is, who has the advantage. They're kind of even. I guess if I had to choose between the two, just kicker wise, I'd probably lean Kansas City. And that kills me because of 13 seconds and he could kick a field goal against us. But I guess if I'm giving an edge, I'm giving it to Kansas City in this one.
Yeah, honestly, I do agree. If Britton Covey is out, all right. This is why I brought the injury report up before. Because if Britton Covey is out, that means probably Boston Scott. I've seen Devontae Smith return punts. I trust both of them before I trust Britton Covey. I know when I went to the Eagles Saints game, there was a lot of people who supported Britton Covey, and I don't know why. He is not a very good punt returner. I know if he were to see this, I'm not a good punt returner either. That's why I'm not in the Super Bowl and I'm not in the NFL returning punts. But he's just not very good. Just call fair catches the entire game. That's what I hope out of Britton Covey. Just call fair catches the entire game. Tommy Townsend, very good punter. All pro, I'm pretty sure this year. He was an all pro punter this year. Our punting unit, awful. If Aaron Sippis is back, which I'm pretty sure Aaron Sippis is going to be back for the Super Bowl. I wasn't a big fan of him, but he was better than Brett Kern. And I was very disappointed in Brett Kern. I expected a lot more out of him. I know he's had experience with being a very good punter in the league, but I was very disappointed in him. So maybe if Aaron Sippis can just not get the ball to be returnable by Sky more, that'd be great. Fantastic for me. It doesn't sound like either of our return units are very good in terms of our return coverage ability. And both kickers are, very good kickers. Both of them could kick from 61 yards any given Sunday. So, and both kickers could miss from 40 yards any given Sunday. So, do you think the Chiefs have the slight edge just because Tommy Townsend is going to be the one punting? All right, now the tale of two coaches, Andy Reid playing against the Eagles and Nick Sirianni playing against the Chiefs. Nick Sirianni was the wide receivers coach for the Chiefs back in the day before Andy Reid got there. Andy Reid is the one who had let him go. And Andy Reid coached the Eagles. He's the greatest coach in Eagles history. How will coaching impact the game? Phil, what do you think?
This one's almost tougher than everything. Andy Reid, he's been to the Super Bowl how many times now? I've honestly lost count how many times he's been to the Super Bowl. He took both teams to the Super Bowl. We all know that Andy Reid runs that offense. I know everyone thinks Eric Bieniemy is a great offense coordinator, but is he? How much does he really do in Kansas City? No one really knows. All right. And then the Philadelphia coach, Nick, I can't even say his last name, but he's obviously taken Philadelphia from where they were with Doug Peterson on his way out, and he's brought them back to the Super Bowl. So he's no slouch of a coach either. I think if we're looking at it as who has the advantage, I have to go Andy Reid just because he's been to the Super Bowl, 4 or 5 times now. So that's kind of where I'm going with it.
Jason, what do you think about this matchup?
If you're going strictly experience, then obviously it's, Andy Reid would have the edge. But there's something about Sirianni, just from watching some of his interviews and seeing him on the sideline and how he interacts with his guys. It's this new age of coaching where, man, they get these players that just want to go out there and compete higher than they thought they could compete. And that's I think is why Philly is where they're at this year. Not saying they don't have great players, because obviously they do, but I still give the edge to Kansas City when it comes to coaching, just solely based off experience. But I don't think it's too far, swayed in one direction or not. I think Philly's going to go out there and they're going to compete for their coach. And that's why I think, obviously all the credit in the world to Andy Reid for, all his years and, success. But this new age of coaching has these guys that are just ready to go play. And I think, that's kind of why I would almost call this a wash. I'll still give it to Andy Reid and the Chiefs, but yeah, I like both coaches. I mean, they're no Sean McDermott, but I like them both.
Liam, what are your thoughts?
I think I'll have to lean more towards Andy Reid and the Chiefs having the advantage. Don't get me wrong, Sirianni, great coach with what he's done with Philly. But Andy Reid, like they were saying, has the experience, and he's really the one calling the offense. It's not Bieniemy. So it's all going to come down to which coach can call a better game and match up to their strengths. And I think Andy Reid, when it comes to it, having that Super Bowl experience, will be able to find a way to call the right plays at the right time.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious Andy Reid is just the better coach. I think we all know he's a Hall of Famer. Nick Sirianni worries me at times. I'm not gonna lie. If we lose because we're out coached, I wouldn't be shocked. All year long, actually, since he got hired, I had an issue with his time management. I do think that's sort of why we lost the Commanders game. And sometimes he has awful time management at times, and then sometimes he's got great time management. So I don't know. Very few times has a team actually lost because they were just frankly out coached. Off the top of my head, really, the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl. I brought that up twice in this. I'd love to bring that up. But that's. I mean, as long as Nick Sirianni doesn't pull like a Kyle Shanahan, a Dan Quinn, and completely blows it, then I'll be fine. But like sometimes, man, he just doesn't know. He doesn't know how to work the clock at all. And I had issues with the 2-point conversion attempt, not once this playoffs, but twice at the end of the first half. He tried doing it against the Niners and the Giants. I don't know why he tried attempting to go for 2 and then not going for 2 at all and end up kicking the extra point. That was just dumb. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. And I mean, my roommates are Giants fans, so they were like, "Oh, he's been doing this all year." I'm like, "Yeah, it's stupid." Doug Peterson used to do that all the time. That's why I'm glad Doug Peterson isn't our head coach. I know a lot of Eagles fans love Doug Peterson. I don't. But I just play smart, coach smart. That's all you gotta do.
See, that's the flip side of the new era coach too. If you want to play devil's advocate, the guys will get up there and they'll be ready to play, but then you've also got to deal with that too.
Exactly. Yeah. But Nick Sirianni, it's like the new era coaches. I think the newer era of coaches is sort of inspired by like, I think Mike Tomlin is fantastic head coach. I think I when his job was quote unquote in jeopardy, couple years ago when the Steelers didn't make the playoffs, I think they had 9 wins or something like that, 8 wins. I was like, I'll take Mike Tomlin. That'd be great, fantastic. I don't care. Mike Tomlin he's one of those guys that's just amazing. Nick Sirianni isn't Mike Tomlin, but definitely motivational. motivational coach, like you were saying, Jason. I do think if anyone's going to outcoach anyone, it's Andy Reid's going to outcoach Nick Sirianni. But very few times in the Super Bowl has one coach completely outcoached the other. So I honestly don't expect it to happen. But if it is, wow, Nick Sirianni's going to be in for a tough time. All right, let's wrap things up with some quick topics on the Super Bowl. What's our score predictions? Phil, what do you think the score is going to be?
I think it's going to be close. I'm trying to decide between a lot of points or not as many points. So I think I'm going to go right in the middle. I think it's going to be 27-24. The Kansas City Chiefs win.
Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, Phil stole exactly what I was going to say. I keep going back and forth. You're either going to have the two offenses just light it up, or you're going to have them, the defensive guys totally step up and say this is their time. So like I said earlier, it's Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. I'm going high scoring. I'm going to say it's going to be 38-34, and Kansas City is going to win.
Liam, what do you think?
I'm going to agree with it. Going to be a higher scoring Super Bowl. Both of those offenses are just explosive, and I'm going to have to go with 35-31 Kansas City.
All right, I'm going to be that guy because every single team has made it one scoring game. I think if the Chiefs win, it's not a one score game. I do have the Eagles winning. I just think whoever wins, it's not going to be close. I think if the Eagles win, they win by two or more scores. And I think if the Chiefs win, it's because Mahomes just is an animal and goes nuts, and he ends up picking us apart and he scores. I have the Eagles winning 34-24. Most people every year we get a 1 point game, 2 point game, 3 point game, one score game, and I don't think that's going to be this year. All right, our MVP prediction for the Super Bowl, Liam. Who do you think is going to be it?
I mean, the past few years, it's been a quarterback winning it. Like, even when the Chiefs won against the Niners, Mahomes had 2 picks and still won the MVP. So whoever wins this game, it's gonna be the quarterback getting the MVP. So probably Patrick Mahomes. But if you want to go dark horse, Travis Kelce.
Jason, who do you think's win MVP for either team if either were to win?
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of Liam when it comes to MVP regular season and Super Bowl. Always seems to be it's going to be a quarterback. So since I picked the Chiefs, I'm going to say Mahomes is the MVP. Did you want our dark horse now? Are we saving that for later?
We'll save that for later.
Okay. Well, sorry, Liam.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going. All right. Mahomes Super Bowl MVP pick.
Phil, who do you think?
So I'm going to go different because, while I do agree that the NFL has narrowed their field of vision when it comes to the MVP, and there was only one player last night, not a quarterback, that got votes for MVP. Like, that's ridiculous. Players have good games. They're going to have good games, and the Super Bowl is no different. Different players from different positions are going to have good games, but they're going to pick a quarterback. I'm not. I'm picking a tight end. It's going to be Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is going to have the type of game that wins the MVP. And yes, I know it's going to be Patrick Mahomes throwing in the ball, so they'll probably get to Mahomes. But I think Travis Kelce is going to win MVP.
All right, I'm going to do what Liam said because I'm going to sort of combine the two because my MVP prediction is surprise. I've seen everybody on everybody on Old Legacy's votes for MVP. Nothing's really been too surprising except for mine. And mine goes sort of with the score. My score was 34-24. I That's let's see. The over unders 51 points, so that's the over. But I think ultimately someone on that Eagles defense is gonna be the one who makes a decision to win the game. And I think it's Hassan Riddick. I think Hassan Riddick might have a field day on Andrew Wiley, and that's what ultimately decides the game. I think if the Chiefs win, I'm pretty sure Mahomes is MVP. It's very honestly, it wouldn't be shocking at all. But for my surprise pick for the Chiefs, I think I'm going to go with a weird one. I'm going to say Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know why. That would make a lot of memes. Just like it would be weird, but someone's got to do it. Now, Liam, Travis Kelce was your surprise MVP.
Hey, it could be Chad Henne too. You never know.
Could be Chad Henne.
Yeah, no, it will. I think if anybody other than the quarterback wins, it would be Kelce.
Jason, who's your surprise pick for MVP?
I'm gonna go with Pacheco out of the backfield. I think, kind of like what we're talking about earlier. Mahomes loves these little dink and dunk to his running backs, and I feel, just watching him play this year, he's very elusive. And if he can break a couple tackles and go, it would not surprise me at all if it went that way.
And Phil, who do you think surprise MVP?
I'm gonna go on the defensive side of the ball because you don't see that Super Bowl MVP being the defensive player much. So I'm gonna go with Snead from the Chiefs. And if the Eagles win, I think it's gonna be Gardner Johnson. He's gonna make one too many picks, and that's how he'll win the Super Bowl MVP.
All right, let's wrap things up. Great season, everybody. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of Old Legacy for helping us out for the entire NFL season. You guys have been completely awesome. It's been a great year. Good luck to the Chiefs. Good luck to the Eagles, obviously. Go Birds. And let's hope for a great Super Bowl.
That's really all that matters is a great Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here for Rihanna.
I also want to see Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce line up against each other. So if we could make that happen, that'd be great.
I'm just here for redemption over that Bucs Super Bowl. That was awful. I need something to get that out of my head.
I would like to add one more thing about that, Phil. I don't know if we'll see Jason Kelce line up against Travis Kelce, but don't be shocked if Jason Kelce he takes a snap within the red zone to try and score a touchdown. I know Nick Sirianni brought it up in an interview with on the Pat McAfee show earlier on in the year. Would not be shocked at all. Nick Sirianni loves to do that stuff. To take if he's going to do anything, he's going to take a QB sneak. And just imagine Jason Kelce taking a QB sneak for a touchdown. I think if it's going to happen, it would be if the Eagles had already had a good lead, but don't be shocked.
Line up Jason at safety and have him cover Kelce for a route.
I don't know if he can do that. All right. Any final words from anyone?
Go Bills.
Right. All right. That's it for the video. Have a great Super Bowl, everybody.